You're rolling with Big Rig Radio, 1079. The station where the coffee's strong, the signal's clear, and the only thing wider than the highway is our playlist. Keep them hammers down and them shiny sides up, good buddies. Big Rig Radio, hauling the hits coast to coast. Kick it up. Boys, wildlife fever, chrome teeth grinning, and I'm gone. 18 wheels all clawing at the blacktop. Hammer down, that needle's leaning mean. Coffee in a stained old thermos, sloshing. Smoke from the stacks like a steam-blown dream. Eastbound sign keeps flashing in the windshield. State line coming like a barbed wire snake.
Hey drivers, tired of eating mystery meat at them chain stops? Pull into Bubba's Big Bite Truck Oasis off exit 69. We've got showers hotter than a Georgia asphalt in July, lottery tickets that almost win, and chili so powerful it'll keep you awake clearer than a double espresso, or your money back. Bubba's Big Bite, where the food's fearless and the portions are bigger than your rig. Come on in, if you dare.
This is Big Rig Radio, keeping you updated on the blacktop. Weather ahead, clear skies and smooth sailing. But watch for them four-wheelers driving like they got a death wish. Remember, folks, life's too short to drive bored. Stay tuned for more real country on Big Rig Radio.
Rig Radio 1079, the station where the coffee's strong, the signal's clear, and the only thing wider than the highway is our playlist. Keep them hammers down and them shiny sides up, good buddies. Big Rig Radio, hauling the hits coast to coast.
Kick it up.
Boys, wildlife fever, chrome teeth grinning, and I'm gone. 18 wheels all clawing at the blacktop. Hammer down that needle's leaning mean. Coffee in a stained old thermos, sloshing. Smoke from the stacks like a steam blown dream. Eastbound sign keeps flashing in the windshield. State line coming like a barbed wire snake.
Hey drivers, tired of eating mystery meat at them chain stops? Pull into Bubba's Big Bite Truck Oasis off exit 69. We've got showers hotter than a Georgia asphalt in July, lottery tickets that almost win, and chili so powerful it'll keep you awake clearer than a double espresso, or your money back. Bubba's Big Bite, where the food's fearless and the portions are bigger than your rig. Come on in, if you dare.
This is Big Rig Radio, keeping you updated on the blacktop. Weather ahead, clear skies and smooth sailing. But watch for them four-wheelers driving like they got a death wish. Remember, folks, life's too short to drive bored. Stay tuned for more real country on Big Rig Radio.
You're rolling with Big Rig Radio 1079, the station where the coffee's strong, the signal's clear, and the only thing wider than the highway is our playlist. Keep them hammers down and them shiny sides up, good buddies. Big Rig Radio, hauling the hits coast to coast.
Kick it up.
The blacktop, hammer down that needle's leaning mean. Coffee in a stained old thermos, sloshing. Smoke from the stacks like a steam blown dream. Eastbound sign keeps flashing in the windshield. State line coming like a barbed wire snake.
Hey drivers, tired of eating mystery meat at them chain stops? Pull into Bubba's Big Bite Truck Oasis off exit 69. We've got showers hotter than a Georgia asphalt in July, lottery tickets that almost win, and chili so powerful it'll keep you awake clearer than a double espresso, or your money back. Bubba's Big Bite, where the food's fearless and the portions are bigger than your rig. Come on in, if you dare.
This is Big Rig Radio, keeping you updated on the blacktop. Weather ahead, clear skies and smooth sailing. But watch for them four-wheelers driving like they got a death wish. Remember, folks, life's too short to drive bored. Stay tuned for more real country on Big Rig Radio.
Wow. Sorry. Yep, okay. Sorry you had to listen to the intro thing like 3 times.
Please proceed to the highlighted route.
Was trying to figure out why Twitch wasn't streaming. Alas, we fixed it. I think it was too high of a bitrate. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine. Let's see, is everything working? For the most part. Alright. So, today we're resuming our trip that we started last night, delivering this great big railroad car mover. That's right. Up just about to the border with Canada. We'll get music or see what's on NPR here in a minute. Oh shit, you know what? I completely forgot. I have to do one thing before we get going here. My fault. Forgot to turn on my, what do you call it? Where is it? My dashboard. So I can see what the hell I'm doing. Use external dashboard. Oh, shit. Thank you. Oh, great. Wrong one. Use an external dashboard. There we go. Got that. Okay, is that everything? I think so. I'm sure I'll remember in a second that it's not. just in time as we get up to full speed. Oh god, rumble strips. Just as we get up to full speed, we come into town, burn all our speed off. That's fine.
Where Homeland Security claims to have arrested 3,000 criminal migrants in the last 6 weeks.
And we look at federally funded clinics where millions of Americans who are losing health insurance can get care at a lower cost.
There is no difference.
Hello, Justine Harry. I'm good. How are you?
That you will receive at a federally qualified health center versus another entity.
Coming up here and now.
The news is first.
Just second time streaming with the VTuber. The first time I made a mistake and didn't have my
on the anniversary of
microphone or game audio even connected to the output. So hopefully that's
with criticism
yeah,
of
that looks like it's fixed now.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers have detained in Minnesota and elsewhere. Minnesota being a flashpoint in the federal crackdown on illegal immigration in the U.S. Trump used words such as criminals and murderers. He held up photos of migrants who've been detained. Trump also singled out members of the Somali community. Some business owners say the presence of federal immigration agents in Minneapolis is hurting their bottom line. Some restaurants have adjusted their operating hours while others have had to shut down temporarily. NPR's Sergio Martinez Beltran has more.
In Minneapolis, the restaurants that are open have someone in charge of locking the doors every time a new person comes in. Ricardo Hernandez owns 11.
You know, I wonder. I saw that that post on X. Was talking about, oh, our restaurant, we have to lock the doors. Please not. We're open. Please knock, so somebody can come unlock the door. And I'm like, aren't you kind of telling on yourself?
Hernandez says this is not sustainable. He worries he and other business owners will have to close shop.
Yeah, you're kind of like, hey, illegals in here. ICE, come get us.
You to stay here. Sergio Martinez Beltran, NPR News, Minneapolis.
President Trump is using a threat of tariffs and retaliating against European leaders who he says are countering his agenda. More from NPR's Eleanor Beardsley.
Over the weekend, President Trump threatened 8 European NATO members with a further 10% tariff by February 1st if they did not stop blocking his Greenland plans. And after President Macron said France would not join Trump's new peace board, Trump threatened a further 200% tariffs on French wine and champagne, saying that would change Macron's mind. French TV commentators called Trump's foreign policy brutish and one based on provocation and humiliation. Eleanor Beardsley, NPR News, Paris.
U.S. Postal Service is starting to take bids from businesses for one of its key package delivery services. NPR's Hansi Lowong reports.
The U.S. Postal Service has usually prioritized big businesses
like
Amazon when offering special rates for delivering packages nationwide to their final destinations. But the mailing agency is now accepting bids from smaller businesses too for access to what USPS calls its last mile network. The move comes after Postmaster General David Steiner warned the agency's financial situation is unsustainable. USPS generally receives no tax dollars. It relies on shipping and stamp fees to keep running. Some shipping industry experts say the move could push bigger shippers to stop relying on USPS, and that could further destabilize the agency. Hansi Lowong, NPR News.
This is NPR News.
Live from the Texas newsroom, I'm Alexandra Hart. Prosecutors have wrapped up presenting their case in the trial of former Uvalde school police officer Adrian Gonzalez. FBI agent Nick Hill was the last witness to
I gotta set up an auto moderator or something to delete these promotion messages. Kick. Twitch.
The defense lawyers are now presenting their case. Gonzalez is charged with 29 counts of child endangerment and neglect for failing to respond to the mass shooting at Robb Elementary. Officials in Minnesota are calling for an independent investigation after the in-custody death of a migrant in El Paso. 36-year-old Victor Manuel Diaz was among those rounded up during a federal immigration search in Minneapolis earlier this month. KTEP's Angela Kocherga reports the facility near Fort Bliss has come under scrutiny in the past.
El Paso's Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, a Democrat, toured the facility when it opened in August, and she's calling for it to shut down.
It has never adhered to basic or appropriate standards to ensure the safety and dignity of the human beings in custody.
Escobar is among 122 members of her party supporting legislation to create enhanced oversight for detention centers, phase out private contractors over 3 years.
The coldest temperatures of the year will be this weekend as an Arctic front moves across the state. National Weather Service meteorologist Cameron Baptiste says it will bring a mixture of snow and ice. Some temperatures may dip into the single digits in the Panhandle. I'm Alexandra Hart from the Texas Newsroom.
You're listening to statewide news from public radio stations across Texas. This coverage is only possible because of support from listeners like you. You can help sustain and grow Texas news coverage by donating to your local public radio station today.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Charles Schwab, offering investors choices like full-service wealth management, advice, investing, and trading on Think or Swim. Learn more at schwab.com. And from the Doris Duke Foundation.
For more local news happening in the Houston area, go to our website, houstonpublicmedia.org. This is News 88.7.
From NPR and WVUR, I'm Indira Lakshmanan.
I'm Robin Young. It's here and now. In Denmark, people are wearing red MAGA caps this week with text that reads, "Make America Go Away."
That's right, the hats have become
to
a
the
protest
right.
symbol
And
as
then
President
turn
Trump
right.
ramps up his pressure campaign to acquire the Danish territory of Greenland. It's not a new idea, it's something Trump has wanted badly since his first term. He proposed it then, but was brushed off. Now he says he will impose crippling tariffs on NATO allies until the U.S. acquires Greenland. Starting February 1st, he's putting a 10% tariff on all goods from 8 European countries, which will increase to 25% on June 1st. It's retaliation for small military exercises those countries conducted in Greenland as a show of solidarity with Denmark. For more on how European leaders are responding to this, let's bring in Liana Fix. She's a senior fellow on European Studies at the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington. Welcome, Liana.
Hi.
So let's start with European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Today at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, she said tariffs are a huge mistake. She said the U.S. and Europe should remember they are allies with common enemies.
And plunging us into a downward spiral would only aid the very adversaries.
Pretty sunset.
We are both so committed to keeping out of the strategic landscape. So
In a game like this, I feel like that sort of thing is very important. You're going to be staring at sunrises and sunsets every an hour and a half for daytime. I don't remember.
By offering him what you referred to as.
But I feel like the sunrise and sunset needs to. Oh God! Why do they do that? Traffic in this game is incredibly stupid. It will just merge right into you instead of throwing on the brake and not hitting you.
About security concerns, but because it might
It'll plow right into you.
But to total ambitions from the United States, and if that's the
If
case,
there's a mod for 1.57, the latest ATS, that can stop traffic from being quite so retarded, that would be great.
Well, you're right that Trump has framed this as an issue of control and ownership, almost as if it's a real estate acquisition. So what can and should
Vehicle
Europe
inspection.
do in response?
We're at way station, next right.
Side is that if they delay the issue long enough, and if they try to tone it down,
use the left lane ahead.
Mistakes that it is where it is right now, there might be some victory that could be salted over Trump. Additional access for the United States, a package deal, an agreement with Greenland that will look nice, but not cross the red lines of a breach of international
Navigation
law,
resumed.
and probably the end of NATO if the United States moves on Greenland forcefully. That's a tactic that Europeans have deployed in the last year too. This year it proves more difficult because apparently the president is really set on controlling Greenland above everything else.
So the worst case scenario would be the dissolution of NATO or even U.S. military action against Europe and its allies there. In terms of what Europe could do to tone down the temperature until then, we've heard about this trade bazooka that they could use to respond to tariffs.
Not
We've heard they
100%
could limit access to U.S. forces in Europe, even kick the U.S. off their military bases. What are you hearing from European leaders? I know you were just there last week. What is the range of options they're considering now?
So the scope of the range of options really has expanded. No one would have thought before about limiting access to bases, to US bases in Europe. But right now, this is more a threat scenario that Europeans are building up. This trade bazooka that the Europeans have is basically a legal justification to impose tariffs on the United States, originally designed for China, by the way. So they are trying to give this whole landscape of dramatic responses from the All
right, time to get weighed.
To really signal to
91,000 pounds total.
It's unclear if that will work, and if it doesn't work, then they will have to pull through with some of those measures, and most likely it's going to be the economic measures, because a military conflict with the US is still unimaginable for Europeans. In the end, they still rely on the United States for protection against Russia.
Well, that's right. And Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is also in Davos and spoke today. He warned Europe basically that they shouldn't retaliate, but he said, let's everyone just take a deep breath, he told the Europeans, and let things play out. I'm wondering, does it sound condescending to you to tell Europe to calm down when we have the U.S. president who's saying he will take European territory of a NATO ally by any means?
Yeah, obviously the tone will not make Europeans happy, but I think what Scott Bessent and others might underestimate is that from a European's perspective, something has really shifted since the end of the last year and the beginning of this year, and this is the impression that the United States treats Europe increasingly with the national security strategy that has been published over Ukraine, that the United States treats Europe increasingly as a...
I wonder why Denmark gives such a shit about Greenland. I mean, I know why the United States cares so intensely about Greenland. It's a great geopolitical, or a defense point, surely to build many nuclear missile silos on it.
Now, Liana, is it true that European leaders are trying
Does
to
Denmark want it for the same reason?
in Washington that Greenland is much smaller than it appears on a standard Mercator projection map?
I can't confirm that from my sources, but certainly maps are something, maps and the size of anything has been something that has kept the White House busy and has always been something that alert to the White House.
Okay. Well, you just came back from Europe last week. What is the mood there among the public about this, ploy for Greenland, this play that Donald Trump wants to make?
It's more shocking and more disillusioned than it has ever been. And I think we are really at the worst of the relationship now with the United States since the inauguration of Donald Trump exactly a year ago. This is a historic depth of the relationship that I personally have never seen before and probably not imagined that we would get to.
That's Liana Fix. She's a senior fellow for Europe at the Council on Foreign Relations in Washington, D.C. Liana, thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, thank you.
To Minnesota now, where the Department of Homeland Security says the 3,000 people arrested by ICE agents over the past 6 weeks are dangerous criminals who came here illegally. But Americans are also being caught up. 57-year-old Chanley Scott Tao told the AP that masked agents with guns forced their way into his home Sunday, took away his underwear, brought him back about an hour later. Aliyah Rahman is speaking out after ICE agents slashed her seatbelt to get her out of her car when she got stuck in traffic. On CNN last night, she described confusing commands.
Back and forth between move, get out, trying to open my door, more threats of breaking a window, which I don't understand the possible purpose of, and it's not a warning, it's a threat of violence that really should be packaged with an instruction.
Minnesota Public Radio's Matt Seppes here, and Matt, first, Aliyah Rahman, is an American. Just briefly, her lawyer says she may sue. What does DHS say?
Well, they are calling her an agitator.
We should have a fuel stop coming up at some point here in the near future.
Protection Greg Rufino said on X recently that she was impeding federal officers, and refused to move and was, quote, her choice entirely, but that's just not true. She was on her way to a doctor. She was not part of any sort of protest that had gathered in the area. And by the way, this was on Portland Avenue, right on the same block where Renee Good was killed nearly 2 weeks ago. She was just driving through. And
frame rate suffers in the cities.
Hauled out of her car.
That's fine. That's okay.
Arrested, released quickly, and now is being smeared by the federal government as some sort of agitator.
Well, I'll follow that story, but meantime, DHS gave these names and pictures of what they say are migrants who've committed serious crimes. What more do we know?
Well, they've been throwing around a lot of numbers and making really big claims about, quote, criminal illegal aliens and the various offenses they're alleged to have committed. And occasionally they'll release names and mugshots of some of the people they've been targeting for deportation.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if
my colleague Peter Cox, in a story just a couple of days ago here at Minnesota Public Radio, he took a deep dive, analyzed some of the court records.
Oh, yeah, no, okay. My checkpoint did save.
Some of these claims from
next
from
checkpoint
DHS.
distance, 225 miles.
13 people listed in a news release from the agency last week, listed as the worst of the worst. And DHS is correct. Many of the people on this list have convictions for serious
Use the
crimes,
left lane ahead.
murder and sexual assault. But it's really critical to point out, ICE, DHS, they're taking credit for recent arrests of people who are already in prison. And Peter took a look at Corrections Department records. 5 of these folks were transferred straight from prison to ICE custody between
Use the left lane ahead.
Really at the end of last year, before this so-called Operation Metro Surge began on December 1st, and another 4 of them had been released by Minnesota prison officials to ICE custody even before 2005. So that's what we're looking at here when we see these claims of thousands and thousands of criminal aliens. I should add too, Minnesota is a small state. We have a total population of over 5.5 million people. The undocumented population here is really very small compared to what you see in larger states like Texas.
If you reach back to 2005, you can add to the numbers. I want to ask about Charlie Scott Dow and his family.
Oh, yeah.
Fred Louse in the 1970s. He's been living here for decades. Agents drove around, took a picture of him somewhere. Is there any explanation for why he was just picked up and thrown back?
Well, ICE says they were looking for a sex offender and he, quote, fit the description at this particular address. And again, this is yet another instance of an illegal warrantless entry. They bashed down his door. Got to have a warrant from a federal judge to do that. They did not. And of course, there's no sex offender in this house. There's only
Use the left lane
Mr.
ahead.
Tao, his son, daughter-in-law, and grandson live at this rental home. Neither they nor the property's owner are even listed in the Minnesota Sex Offender Registry. The nearest one lives 2 blocks away. So there was absolutely no reason for this arrest. They could have knocked and left when they figured out they got the wrong guy.
Okay, just a touchdown there in Minnesota. Matt Sapnick, correspondent of Minnesota Public Radio.
Use the left lane ahead.
Thank you so much.
Glad to be here.
We'll continue following all this news for you. Some great conversations are ahead as well. Stay with us here and now.
God, I don't know what left-leaning media is going to do when Trump is out of office, and every single news item can't be Trump. I feel like every section on NPR starts out with Trump did this.
Coming up today at 3, let's check on the weather. Here's ABC 13 meteorologist Mariska.
It's a mild one on this Tuesday with temperature readings warming into the mid-60s. There's a slim chance you'll encounter a rain shower today, but that rain chance only 20%. Do expect the rain chances to build on Wednesday as a disturbance rolls through southeast Texas. That rain chance up to 60%. ABC 13 weather watch for the weekend as we may see some freezing rain move through the area. I'm ABC 13 meteorologist Alita Loreska for News 88.7.
The U.S. Justice Department has a mighty mission to uphold the rule of law, keep our country safe, and protect civil rights. But in the last year, there's been an exodus of FBI agents, prosecutors, and other workers
for here and now comes from Made In, makers of cookware found in restaurants around the world, offering a carbon steel griddle for home use, designed for cooking a range of foods, from eggs and bacon to burgers and fish. More at madeincookware.com.
It's here and now. Well, today marks 1 year since President Trump took office for the second time. A year he began by creating, with much fanfare, the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, led by Elon Musk, with big claims of making government smaller, cutting jobs, clawing back funds, shutting down agencies. But Julian Zelizer, the Princeton historian and our guide through past history and how history is being made today, says that when it comes to presidential power, that form of government, Trump has exploded any myths that Republicans are the party of small government, unleashing federal power to advance his agenda and protect his own authority. Julian Zelizer is here, and Julian, we're seeing that. Let's get right to it. I want Greenland. But make your case, just maybe with a laundry list at the top here, the ways in which Trump has expanded his power.
Use the left lane ahead.
Federal troops on the streets. We see a massive tariff program based on emergency powers as an intervention in the economy. We've seen the erosion of the wall between the Oval Office and the Department of Justice, using DOJ for his own purposes, deals with businesses, law firms, and universities, shooting votes and seizing the leader in the south of the country. This is presidential power at its most grandiose.
Well, and he has said it out loud. It's not something I don't think he would deny. He said recently to the New York Times, the only check on his presidential powers is my own morality, my own mind. It's the one thing that can stop me. He was asked about international law.
Speeding.
He brushed it aside. So it's not as if. Am I seeing that correctly? Maybe in the beginning.
Let's see what's on the AI Music Radio right now. While I was looking for DMCA safe music, I found this AI Music Radio station. And so far I'm not super impressed. It seems to just play a lot of looping hip-hop and house, looping EDM. Somebody needs to start a radio station of AI music that's like a real radio station, DJ, jingles, and thematic hours for this kind of thing, for gaming, sim streaming. Case of traffic being very stupid. The truck merging, no turn signal.
Use the left lane ahead. Lane ahead.
Shoot, fuel stop coming up any minute. Not like low yet, but Please pull into the way station. Just did that, but fine. I'll humor your laws. State of New Mexico, I think that's where I'm at.
Navigation resumed. Navigation resumed.
Alright. Oh no, we're gonna get off
To the
here and
right.
get fuel.
And then take the exit on the right.
That's right, I forgot. Fuel stop coming up.
Use the right exit ahead. Keep to the right. And then keep to the right. Keep to the right. And then turn right. Turn right.
Not 100% where the truck fuel is in here. Oh, it's on the other side.
One time in the place to be for
If
all the
possible,
party people
please
having a
turn around.
ball. 2 times for the folks in the front and the ones back playing the wall. 3 times if you at home listening, cleaning up your living room or cooking in the kitchen in case you need heat. You know we call. Guess who's back? I slacked off for a second. Sloppy in a hotel lobby at the check-in. I'm low tech, no TikTok or play Tekken, but I'm still neck and neck with anybody who you reckon is elite. I keep flying by the seat of my pants. I got talent, long as nobody needs me to dance. I even caught a deal early with a measly advance.
Alright, yeah, check it out. Everything's working reasonably well, it seems. Looks like it, yeah. Cool. Let's see if that's working. Yep, okay, cool. Very neat. Okay, I have to check on something real quick, then we'll get fuel and hit the road again. we're back. So, okay. I wonder why it looks like, okay. Why do you look like that? Okay, I mean, his head is like turned all the way around. What the hell is wrong with him? I wish there was a way to the media pipe tracking is really, look at that, what the hell is going on here? The problem is I have to turn all the way around to calibrate the media pipe, and it calibrates to like my back. So I'm trying, like, how do I... I don't know how to get it so that it's not all screwy. Yeah, every time, because as soon as I calibrate it, it's all, like, twisted around. Huh. And obviously the calibration doesn't like save. No, it calibrates every single time. No, okay, fine. It's kind of busted. It is what it is. Alright, let's get gas. I wonder if there's a Warudo plugin for Stream Deck. That would help. A plugin to calibrate. Oh, let's see. Oh god. Let's see. Okay. Cool, there is. Let's pause this for a second. And let me take a look. Oh god, oh god. Pulling on things I shouldn't be pulling on. Let's take a look, see. There is a Warudo plugin for Stream Deck. And maybe that would let me calibrate. Come on. What the hell? What do these do? Nope. No, it doesn't seem to work. Great. do I do this? Not 100% sure. Oh, man. Let's see. Thank you, that's not what I want. Trying to figure out if there's a way to control Warudo over network. Oh my gosh, how annoying is this? This is obnoxious. How am I supposed to calibrate Warudo if I have to turn around to click the calibrate button and it messes up the damn calibration because my back is turned to it? and Grok is really starting to piss me the fuck off a little bit, because every single time I ask it to search or find something, Grok is overloaded because everybody in India is using it to scam the shit out of everybody in the fucking West. Just ban India from Grok. We'll give this about 10 more seconds to figure out, and then we'll have to figure it out some other way. It's pissing me off a little bit, to be honest. How in the hell are you supposed to calibrate Warudo if you have to sit in a neutral position to calibrate Warudo, and I gotta reach around to a streaming PC to calibrate? What the fuck? Very frustrating. So the damn avatar's stuck looking like he's got a weird neck thing going on.
Tell me who does that? CITYLEGENDS MCs from SCO, yes. Getting in where we fitting in. Report from Caltech shows the earth is trembling. Damage, catastrophic, deadly, toxic. Planting the olive tree, now watch it. Sprout, displaying rays of sunshine. Food for thought, I inject inside each rhyme. It doesn't matter if pop or underground, just
oh my god.
Bound to move crowd. That's what the folks yearn for. Follow me on this journey, guarantee you learn more as I push it through the streets and avenues. Sam Brown, dawn of a new.
Okay, let's be honest and please tell the truth. Now, have you ever heard two MCs getting loose like this from South Central, controlling instrumentals to the point that we're at one? It's purely spiritual, harmonious flows. Possess these pros.
Oh, you know what? I wonder if I could. Okay. So I think I can set up a key press hotkey on Stream Deck that will trigger. Oh my god, okay. Okay. I'm not worrying about all that right this second, though. That's a whole ass thing. We'll worry about that another time. How the hell do I get out of here now? All the way around.
Fallout's done.
These days, a lot of people are more likely to peruse, say, the New York Times cooking app than a book on their shelves, or even allrecipes.com. And often we find our way to these digital recipe collections through visual-first platforms like Instagram and TikTok. The democracy of all recipes is giving way to the supremacy of who knows how to take a good picture.
A cookbook is a product that you buy with, let's say, 100 recipes in it. It's a body of work, and it usually has a well-known food person attached to it. So what you're buying is a certain kind of authority. You're also buying an object, and you're also buying whatever kind of overarching food philosophy is represented by the sum of those recipes. That's the product. Whereas a recipe online is detached from those things. It has to sell itself on its own merits, on its own craveability. It doesn't have all of this other stuff to fall back upon. And so what you have is recipes that are designed to be as instantly craveable as possible. So whether that's kind of certain colors being deployed again and again, certain adjectives, crispy, crunchy chicken schnitzel, that kind of a vibe. I'm sure you've seen that kind of thing going around online. Like, that's where we're going when a recipe has to sell itself.
That's Ruby Tando speaking with Endless Threads, Amory Sievertson, and Ben Brock Johnson. You can find more Endless Thread stories at hereandnow.org.
Support for Endless Thread content in Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks is accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
Use the right lane ahead.
When legal scholar Dorothy Brown decided to write a book on the case for reparations, she knew it'd be tough.
And I said to myself, if this is my target audience and they're this skeptical, I'm in trouble. I need better messaging. How do I figure this out?
I'm Reba Face. Look at the argument for reparations. Next time on Mondays.
Use the left lane ahead.
The University of Tulsa's Judaic and Near Eastern Studies lecture series presents Dr. Thomas Carlson, professor of history at Oklahoma State, who will speak on
Use the
getting
left
along
lane ahead.
sometimes, intersecting lives of Muslims, Jews, and Christians in the medieval Middle East, which contrasts European and Islamic viewpoints on religiously mixed society during the period, and how real people interacted with religiously diverse viewpoints. The lecture takes place Monday, January 26th at 5:30 in Helmer Hall on the TU campus.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station, and from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And Road Scholar, a nonprofit educational travel provider for adults, offering programs in more than 100 countries and online. Learn more at roadscholar.org/learning.
It's Here and Now. A federal appeals court today is hearing arguments about laws in Louisiana and Texas that require the Bible's 10 Commandments to be displayed in public school classrooms. The laws have been blocked by lower courts over the separation between church and state, but other states are watching for the final outcome of this case, including Ohio, where some lawmakers are backing an approach they hope will survive legal challenges. Ohio Public Radio's Sarah Donaldson reports from Columbus.
In 1980, the Supreme Court struck down a Kentucky law requiring public schools to hang posters with the 10 Commandments in every classroom. The court ruled the posters were, quote, plainly religious in nature. But the unsigned decision was close. And now, decades later, Yale Law School professor Justin Driver says dissenters want to test it.
More recently, a number of states, including Louisiana and Texas and Ohio, have been taking steps to try to get the court to, in effect, revisit that issue.
Their hopes were boosted a few years ago when the court ruled in favor of a high school football coach who had prayed on the 50-yard line after games, with players free to join. The reading of the First Amendment seems to be in flux.
The Establishment Clause has long been understood to prohibit the school from teaching, say, religion as truth.
Laws in Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas, which have been passed but put on hold by the courts, mandate the display of the commandments. But Ohio lawmakers are trying something different. In November, the state Senate passed a bill that requires 4 historic documents in history and social studies classrooms out of a list of 9 options. The legislature assembled the list. Among the choices, the Bill of Rights, the Magna Carta, the Articles of Confederation, and the 10 Commandments. The decision is left with the school boards.
I'm sure there's local school boards in the state that have no problem putting up an LGBTQ plus flag in their schools and or celebrating it because their locals have made that decision.
That's Republican State Senator Andrew Brenner. He backs the argument heard in other states that the Ten Commandments is significant as a historical document that shaped the founding of the U.S.
There was a basis for everything, that there was a God Almighty and that everything was created from God. And you have to have a moral basis for everything. The Ten Commandments are a basis for a large chunk of our laws. Go back to the Mayflower.
American Civil Liberties Union of Ohio Legislative Director Gary Daniels says that even though some commandments overlap with secular messaging, don't kill, don't steal, others are just religious.
That's what they want to get purposely in front of students, is those exclusively religious messages in the Ten Commandments.
Opponents to the bill in the Senate said it could make children in families of other beliefs feel excluded. And Daniels says some school districts might be pressured to display the commandments.
So you're going to have legislators sign this into law. School districts feel forced, because there will certainly be lobbying at the local level, to include among those 4 documents the Ten Commandments.
With the bill having passed the Senate, it could get a hearing in the Ohio House next month. For NPR News, I'm Sarah Donaldson in Columbus, Ohio.
This afternoon on All Things Considered.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm definitely pro Ten Commandments. But I guess when it comes to a strict reading, a law requiring the display of the Ten Commandments or any particular religious message is one of the few times where I guess we're actually talking about a separation.
We have an update now on a story
problem.
we aired earlier this month. It's not good.
Most of the things people cry, what about the separation between church and state? Doesn't really qualify as a separations issue. But requiring the Ten Commandments definitely would.
Peter tells us the bird has died.
It's a law preferring one religion
because
to
a colony of cats had her
many other
cornered in a
ones.
neighbor's yard when the rescuer showed up in early December. She was recovering north of Phoenix at the Wild at Heart Raptor Rescue, and when I first met the bird, she was calmly sitting on the arm of clinic manager Michelle Anderson.
Sometimes I think they know that we're here trying to help them, and she's just calm, or it could be she's in so much pain that fighting is very painful for her. It hurts.
Her drooping wing had shown signs of improvement, but last week she took a turn.
We got about 830 miles.
Showing signs of necrosis. A tendon had been severed.
We got about 830 miles until we hit our destination. I don't remember where it is. Kalispell.
Anywhere from about
Kalispell, Washington.
Nearly 12 million birds die this way every year in the United States. Other times, scientists say birds found dead near a power line actually died from a gunshot wound. Considering the extent of Farrell's injuries, medical staff made the decision to euthanize the bird. The rescuer told me her feisty spirit wasn't suited to life in captivity. In the end, Farrell was wild at heart. For Here and Now, I'm Peter O'Dowd in Phoenix.
And there's going to be some sadness in the O'Dowd household, no doubt. Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Robin Young.
I'm Indira Lakshmanan. It's Here and Now.
God, this is terrible bumper music. What the hell, NPR? What is this circus shit?
Funding for Here and Now comes from Made In, makers of cookware found in restaurants around the world, offering a carbon steel non-stick griddle for home use, designed for use indoors or outdoors, on a grill or over an open flame. More at madeincookware.com.
Robin Young. Author David Guterson is out with a new novel, As Grounded as the Fields of Indiana, as magical as the reincarnation of Buddhist lamas. But is it true?
Evelyn in Transit is definitely inspired from a number of sources in the real world. There's no question that it's inspired by real events.
Next time, Here and Now.
costs a lot of money to replace and repair that aging grid infrastructure.
Rating energy promises on All Things Considered from NPR News.
This afternoon at 4 on Public Radio 89.5.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Chamber Music Tulsa, presenting the Brooklyn Riders String Quartet, January 30th through February 1st at Wampa and the Tulsa PAC. More information is available at chambermusictulsa.org.
Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1 Tulsa.
Oh, I guess I actually want the left lane here. Sorry, everybody behind me.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software, accelerating the pace of engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com.
From NPR and WBUR Boston, I'm Indira Lakshmana.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now. Coming up, Hawaii has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. Today, the Supreme Court hears arguments in a case testing a recent law's constitutionality.
Also, Josiah Hesse on the nexus between the new Christian right and the fundamentalist church in which he was brought up.
There was a solar eclipse, and
while we're sitting here, I gotta check on something. It's very cold here, and our pipes froze over the previous night. And so that's wonderful. That's very good. And,
a high school coach
trying to get
reacts to the big game last night. A lot of his former players were in it. That's coming up Here and Now.
The news is first. Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Wall Street's witnessing a sharp downturn this afternoon. European countries are recoiling at President Trump's plan to control Greenland and his threat of new tariffs February 1st if they get in the way, and markets are reacting. At last check, the Dow was down 885 points, or 1.7%. Major market indices all down roughly 2%. However, immigration has been dominating President Trump's remarks at the White House, where he was presiding over the daily press briefing on this anniversary of his second inauguration.
For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration, where because we're getting all of these illegal people out.
The Brookings Institution writes in a report this month, quote, "We conclude that net migration was likely close to zero or negative over calendar year 2025 for the first time in at least half a century." It goes on to state that for 2026, net migration is projected to remain in negative territory. The report adds, quote, "These figures come with the caveat that recent reductions in data transparency make the estimates more uncertain," end quote. In Iran, hackers targeted state television, disrupting programming with messages telling the country's security forces to disarm. NPR's Jackie Northam has the latest.
Multiple channels broadcast on state TV by satellite were interrupted Sunday evening, showing video supporting Iran's exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. It's unclear how much support he garners in Iran. There was also footage of Iranian security forces on the street, with a message urging them not to turn their weapons on the protesters. The semi-official Fars news agency acknowledged the hack and not what was on the video. Iran's authoritarian regime has imposed a near-total internet and communications blackout since last week, leading to speculation whether the hackers used Starlink satellite system run by SpaceX. Jackie Northam, NPR News.
Elon Musk is pumping $10 million to back a Senate candidate in Kentucky. Here's NPR's Bobby Allen.
Musk donated to a group supporting Nate Morris, the Republican in the primary race to succeed Senator Mitch McConnell. Morris, who has ties to Vice President J.D. Vance, is a CEO based in Lexington who is critical of the Republican establishment. He's considered an underdog in the context to follow McConnell. The money represents the largest yet for Musk in the midterm election cycle. Musk spent nearly $300 million to back Trump in 2024 and assumed a high-profile role in the administration, but after the two became estranged, Musk claimed he was done with politics and even threatened to start his own party. But now, Musk is funneling millions into a super PAC to push nominees who position themselves as populist pro-business candidates. Bobby Allen, NPR News.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average is now down more than 900 points. You're listening to NPR News.
Maybe we'll see.
The Supreme Court hears oral arguments tomorrow in a case involving the Trump administration's attempt to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook.
No,
the
we
High
don't like
Court
that.
will weigh arguments over whether President Trump has the
gotta fix that.
authority
Hold
to
on.
dismiss Cook or whether it's presidential overreach. Still remains to be seen if Fed Chair Jerome Powell will be there. He has frequently been a target of criticism by Trump for resisting interest rate cuts, and has recently come under federal investigation. Netflix
Sorry, I was trying to see
has
if I could
sweetened
get
its
you a better
offer to
view
take over most of Warner Brothers Discovery. It is
the
still
whole cabin,
valued at
but
nearly
loss.
$83
I really don't
billion,
like that.
but that would be all cash
From my
instead of a mix of cash and Netflix shares. Here's NPR's David Folkenflik.
Netflix wants to take over HBO Max, Warner Brothers Studios, the back catalog, and intellectual property like Harry Potter and DC Comics. Warner's board has already accepted the revised bid, but Paramount is making its case directly to Warner shareholders.
800 miles to go.
Offer of $108 billion would take everything, including CNN, TBS, and other cable channels. Paramount already owns Paramount Pictures, Paramount Plus, and CBS. A wild card, President Trump wants to say in how the transaction turns out. Paramount is financially controlled by two Trump allies, David Ellison and his father, Oracle co-founder Larry Ellison. Trump trashes CNN, but has been critical of CBS News under the Ellisons too, and Netflix executives have been cozying up to the president. David Folkenflik, NPR News.
The Nasdaq is now down 533 points, or 2.2%. S&P's down as well, roughly 2%. The Dow has fallen 1.8%, or 900 points. It's NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Lilly Endowment, a private foundation supporting NPR's coverage of religion and spirituality, and Jarl and Pamela Moe, focusing on civil liberties, foster youth, public radio, and the arts.
Oh, NPR has a religious
Support for
program.
Public Radio
Never heard of
Tulsa
it.
is provided by the Tulsa
Sure, it's all
Zoo,
about Islam.
presenting a winter camp, February 16th, encouraging children's connection to the natural world. Information about winter camp is available at tulsazoo.org/camps.
A listener-supported service of the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1, Tulsa.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Indira Lakshmanan.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now, and we start this hour at the Supreme Court, where today justices heard a major gun case in which they tried to tease out what happens when gun rights and property rights meet head-on. The case is about a Hawaii law, one of two firearms cases this term, as states continue to navigate a new landscape after a pivotal gun rights decision in 2022. We'll explain with Chip Brownlee. He's a reporter with The Trace, a news organization that investigates gun violence. Chip, welcome back.
Hey, Robin. Thanks so much for having me.
And so this Hawaii law requires people to get permission to carry a weapon onto private property that's open to the public. Remind us what that is.
That's right. So this is a case about the default that states set for people going onto or into private property that's open to the public. So you can think about places like restaurants or hotels, maybe arenas if they're owned by a private entity. And in most states, it's up to the property owner to kind of explicitly ban guns if they don't want them there. But in 2022, after the Supreme Court issued its landmark decision expanding gun rights, 5 states, including Hawaii, passed laws kind of flipping that default. So under Hawaii's law, it's up to the owner to provide explicit consent for people to bring guns onto their property.
Okay, and this could be your house.
It could be your house, but this case is mostly about public property or private property that's open.
Yeah, she read the damn thing where it said publicly accessible private property, like a mall, a restaurant,
to come in, so more like stores and restaurants.
and then this could be your house. She's not paying any attention whatsoever.
Private property like homes.
No, she's doing that to send a false message, you know. They do that on purpose.
Inviting the public in.
Well,
it's not that she's stupid.
These issues that you were just mentioning
rumble strips.
Came to the
It's not that
forefront,
she's stupid.
we're
She's
gonna
not
get to that in a
stupid.
second, but gun
She knows what
owners
she's
are
doing.
challenging this law. What
She's
are they
trying to connect it to people's in their mind to, oh, it could be your house, when that's, oh God, when that's not it at all.
22, which gave, kind of recognized for the first time a right to carry owns guns in public. And since the Supreme Court recognized that right, states like Hawaii passed this law to try to kind of limit the places where people could carry guns in public. So in Hawaii, it's places
If
like
that guy
restaurants,
just got off, if he comes back on and tries to merge, you son of a bitch.
And the gun rights groups are saying that is a violation of the Second Amendment and just a way to try to get around the decision in Bruin.
Right. They shouldn't have to, get consent from a store owner, for instance, or a restaurant owner before they can carry a gun into those establishments. Well, let's listen to what happened in the court today. Chief Justice John Roberts had this to say to the lawyer defending Hawaii's law, again, requiring permission to carry a gun onto private property that the public can access.
It is a very clear constitutional right under the First Amendment. If I, for example, as a candidate for office, want to walk up to your door on private property and knock on the door and say, here, give me your vote, that's exercising the First Amendment right. But you say that it's different when it comes to the Second Amendment, that you can walk up. So when the candidate wants to walk up and he's carrying a gun.
Again, pointing out that the candidate in that case would have to get permission because he's carrying a gun. This is the Hawaii law. Well, Justice Sonia Sotomayor put this question to the lawyer for the gun rights advocate.
Is there a constitutional right to enter private property with a gun without an owner's express or implicit consent? The answer has to be simply no.
So, Chip Brownlee, we got a sense there of how at least two...
See, I would argue that they keep talking about public and private property, and I can't tell if they're just...
That this is going to split.
See, I don't know which the Hawaii law is actually supposed to be, whether it's publicly accessible private property like a mall or restaurant, or truly private property like somebody's house, where the publicly accessible portion is generally the curtilage, as it pertains to knock and talk doctrine. That is to say, anybody can go up to your front door and knock on your front door, and as they say, wait to be received, and either welcomed in, or told to go away. Oh God, either one.
I think we'll end up seeing this kind of play out a lot.
So, like, maybe that's what they're talking about when they bring up the person coming to your door who has a gun.
More of a case about
because they're talking about the curtilage, which is publicly accessible.
Other constitutional rights.
And to be honest, if that's the case, then yeah.
Was saying there about
the curtage of your house is publicly accessible, or a publicly accessible private property like a mall or a restaurant.
When you mention a candidate walking up and knocking on someone's door, I'm thinking of
why would the government be able to stop you from carrying a firearm
to come to your door.
And that's
right now, the law
accessible
says
property.
in Hawaii and 4 other states, in New Jersey, New York, California, Maryland, that you have to have permission before you walk up to that home or a restaurant with a gun. Just briefly, you kind of indicated what you think happens here. What does this mean for the other state law? Just briefly.
I think if the Supreme Court
100 miles down, 700 to go.
For the other state laws, New Jersey, New York, Maryland, some other states have these laws, and actually Maryland today was struck down by the appeals court there. So I think it's honestly not looking good for these types of laws.
Chip Brownlee with the Trace. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Today marks 1 year of President Trump's second term in office. From aggressively detaining and deporting people accused of being in this country illegally, to investigating and prosecuting his political rivals,
through the caves. These always make me nervous, especially with a big load. My God, scary.
One of the farthest reaching efforts of his second term has been
worried they're going to hit the sides.
assault on higher education.
I don't even know if they can.
His actions froze many of the biggest medical and scientific research projects in the country. They've affected college students at all income levels, and the billions of dollars that international students here on visas bring into the U.S. economy. Let's hear first from some big college presidents.
I served 38 years in the Navy. I flew in 125 under-fire combat missions. People ask me all the time, do I miss flying? And I say, no, the job that I'm in right now is as dynamic as it can be without actually being fired at.
It feels like you have to be the calm in the center of a storm.
This is a really, really challenging time for American higher education.
That was Ted Carter, president of Ohio State, Mary Dana Hinton at Collins University in Virginia, and Andrew Martin, chancellor of Washington University in St. Louis. Joining us now to talk about how President Trump has reshaped higher education in the last year is NPR correspondent Alyssa Nadworny. Great to have you, Alyssa.
Thank you.
So first, what did President Trump say on the campaign trail about universities?
Well, I'm really glad you asked this because so much of what Trump did with higher education in his first year followed much of what he said he was going to do on the campaign trail. I want to play you a clip.
Thank you. That guy was stopped and waiting for you to go.
2023 when he was on the campaign trail.
Come on.
We are going to choke
there
off
you
the
go.
money to schools that
Good
aid
job,
the
buddy.
Marxist
I
assault
knew you had
on
that
our
in you.
American heritage and on Western civilization itself. The days of subsidizing communist indoctrination in our colleges will soon be over.
So Trump repeatedly complained about anti-Semitism on campus, of gender and race-based course offerings and programs. Even there you saw him talk about communist indoctrination. I mean, he also repeatedly said in order to force change, in order to kind of push the way he saw higher ed, he was going to leverage the power of money. So essentially canceling, withholding, freezing, or threatening billions in federal aid. And, you know, one example of doing this in the last year was through investigations. So the Trump administration opened more than 150 investigations into colleges for various issues related to Trump's priorities: diversity, equity, and inclusion, anti-Semitism. And those cases came with the threat, and in some cases, the consequence of actually losing federal funding.
All right, so what you're describing sounds like in some cases he might have been using anti-Semitism or communist ideology as a pretext, potentially for trying to impose a different ideological view on universities and campuses. Have these campuses fought back and said, you know, no, that's not actually what we're doing here?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I talked to a lot of higher ed leaders this year, and so many said, are we indoctrinating our students? No. Come to campus and ask them. You know, one of the biggest pushbacks we saw was Harvard University. They had about $1 billion in federal grants canceled for university research.
Oh, well.
Now, they took the Trump administration to court.
It's not a turn lane, but I'm still going to have to wait on this truck to turn.
Essentially won, although, you know, of course, that could
especially
go all
when traffic is so
but that
stupid.
meant that those grants were reinstated to Harvard. So I think
he's
a
gonna wait
lot
on
of
the
schools were looking
bus.
to see what was going to happen with the Harvard case, and that was the big kind of like standing up to the Trump administration.
Well, that's really helpful. Tell us how affected students are feeling.
You know, a lot of students I talk to are worried about the government's influence in the classroom and on campus. I want to play you a little tape from James McCaffrey. He was a Harvard senior studying government last year. He actually co-founded a group called Students for Freedom that advocated for university leaders to stand up for Trump. Let's listen.
I'm from Oklahoma, a very red state. I'm a very proud American. I believe in freedom of speech. I believe in the American dream. When you're starting to attack freedom of speech, that's anti-American. When you're starting to say, we're going to cut your funding, that's un-American.
So students all across the country from a lot of different political leanings told me that learning, education, workforce training, these things shouldn't be political.
What about those folks who support the action that Trump has taken towards colleges?
Well, there are folks who say, let's, shake things up. I talked to Richard Vedder. He is a senior fellow at the Independent Institute, a libertarian think tank.
It's time for someone to shake things up a bit. It's not perhaps the ideal way to change things. It may be a disruptive way to change things, but on the whole, the attempt to reevaluate research grant money is a valid one.
So I think, no matter what changes happened in the last year, a lot of presidents are telling me we just want stability. We just want things to calm down so we can start to plan for higher ed going forward.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be a very busy year in 2026, and we will be having you back often to tell us.
Never enough time
to tell us what's happening on campuses in terms of money, what's being taught, censorship, a whole raft of issues. So, Alyssa Nadworny, thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're listening to Here and Now.
The Supreme Court hears arguments in a case that could give President Trump and future presidents unprecedented control over the Federal Reserve and issues Trump's attempt to fire Lisa Cook, a Fed governor. Learn more on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Tomorrow morning from 5 to 9 here on Public Radio 89.5.
The Signature Symphony at TCC presents Copeland in the Wild West, a concert happening on January 24th at 7:30 p.m. at the Vantrees Pace in Tulsa on East 81st Street. The concert will include Billy the Kid by Aaron Copland, the Magnificent Seventh theme by Elmer Bernstein, Gershwin's Concerto in F, and other works. More information on this concert, including tickets online at signaturesymphony.org.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Signature Symphony, presenting Aaron Copland and the Wild West, a wild ride of a concert featuring cowboy songs and folk melodies, January 24th at 7:30 at the TCC Vantrees Pace. More at signaturesymphony.org.
Yeah, I know. I'll overspeed. That's
Made
fine.
possible
You're allowed
by
to do
your
that.
financial support. Public Radio 89.5, KWGS, HD1.
This is that annoying asshole who pulled out in front of me earlier.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston, where the program is produced, and Viking, dedicated to creating travel experiences for the thinking person, with programs designed for cultural enrichment on board and on shore. Learn more at Viking.com.
It's Here and Now. When I say you got trouble right here in River City, thousands of high school theater nerds will shout back, Music Man.
Right here in River City, with a capital P and that rhymes with P and that stands for pool. You surely got trouble. Right here in River City.
Meredith Willson's beloved 1957 musical about a traveling salesman who tricks the residents of River City into funding a marching band by convincing them that trouble was coming in the form of a pool table. River City is Wilson's own hometown of Mason City, Iowa. There's a Meredith Willson Square. But journalist Josiah Hesse was also raised there, and he says that image of gullible Midwesterners who would believe anything still stings, and flim-flam politicians and fundamentalist preachers are now the real-life Music Man. In his new book, Josiah traces the history of evangelical con artists who came through Mason City warning of trouble far worse than pool tables, a horrifying end times. Later they'd add immigrants and elites. Josiah was terrified. His parents poured money into church coffers, expecting the riches that prosperity gospel promised and never came. The apocalypse didn't come either, but politicians soon did. Josiah draws a line from con artists of yesterday to those of today who, he says, trapped evangelicals and Pentecostals in an isolated bubble of poverty, addiction, racism. Josiah Hesse's memoir is On Fire for God. He joins us now. Josiah, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Robin.
You know, there are people we know who enjoy their faith without fear of damnation. I went on Dutch Reformed retreats, and I never heard, as you did, that black-winged, red-eyed demons were surrounding me. You describe a scene with kids crying hysterically, moaning, screaming, speaking in tongues, while the band is singing a song about how
Use the left lane
the
ahead.
Lord will allow demons to feast on the flesh of those who do not believe.
Yeah, we would all just cry.
100 miles
buckets of
down,
tears
600 to go.
Every single night at church camp and at youth groups, at Christian rock concerts. You'd be encouraged to reflect on your shortcomings, your laziness, your failure to pray sufficiently, and you would just feel awful
Keep to the
about
right.
yourself.
And then did you think you were going to burn in hell? Did you think the apocalypse was coming?
Absolutely. For my entire childhood, I don't think I went more than a few hours without contemplating eternal torture. I spent a lot of time alone, at times believing the rapture had occurred.
If your mother was late coming home, you thought, oh my God, it happened. They all went, and I was left behind.
Yeah, and that's a story that I've heard so many times from what's known as ex-evangelicals. They came home from school and mom or dad weren't home, and they call people, they knock on doors, can't get a hold of anyone, and they believe that they have been left behind. There was a solar eclipse, and I saw that and thought, oh, this is Revelation saying the sun would turn as dark as sackcloth, and I thought any minute the earth is going to split and locusts with the heads of lions are going to swarm us, and couldn't concentrate on anything else. I failed nearly all of my classes, and when I turned 18, which was shortly after the Y2K scare, which many of my generation interpreted as the end of the world, when that came and went, I was dealing with an adulthood I've been told would never arrive, because the rapture and the tribulation will likely occur before then.
Why go to college? Why train? Because it's not going to happen. But then your family, your mom and your dad believe they will prosper. Tithe, give to the church, and God will take care of the rest, and your family business disintegrates. Your dad in particular has been trying to overcome his own dad's violence. You learn later that he was sexually abused as a child. This is your dad. He's holding all this in. It gets to the point where, and he tells you this, he was answering a suicide hotline at your family church, and part of the hotline purpose was to recruit people. He ends up having sex with one of the callers, I think on the altar of the church.
Yeah, and as you can imagine, mental health services weren't very prominent in that culture. So if you are struggling with addiction or having an affair or even troubles with your finances, it's some kind of sin. So my dad, the more gifts you give to God, the church, the more you will be blessed financially.
Yeah, but this isn't new. In 1937, there was a Pentecostal preacher named Burroughs Waltrip who ran tent revivals, came through Mason City with Catherine Kuhlman, who presented herself as a faith healer. They were frauds.
Well, Catherine Kuhlman is known throughout the world, and she did put on quite a show. She would have people sit in wheelchairs. They said it was just so people could not stand waiting in line for so long, but then they'd wheel them up and she'd pray over them and they'd leap out of these wheelchairs, and it's a miracle. She came to my hometown and was involved in a secret affair with Burroughs Waltrip while he had a secret family, and they had been going from town to town preaching about faith healing and the prosperity that's coming. This was something that was very attractive to farmers during the Great Depression. And he did build this amazing church, but he ran up a tremendous debt. And then when the debt was due, he transferred ownership of the church to a local tire salesman. And then he and Catherine Kuhlman split town, both of them in brand new cars. There was a newspaper report out of Georgia that they were pulling the same grift down there.
On good people who, as scholars and researchers told you, were already feeling looked down on and gullible, going back to the 1925 Scopes monkey trial. They believed church leaders who told them there was no evolution. Then later, corporate America swoops in, buys up the family farms, towns start dying, but preachers tell their flock the social safety net was for lazy people.
Keep to
Your
the
dad
right.
doesn't apply
And
for
then
federal help
continue
that he could
straight.
really use.
Yeah, throughout the Great Depression, farmers took a lot of help from the U.S. government. Then when Lyndon Johnson expanded this to include people of color and women, that's when you started hearing this rhetoric of this is communism, these people are lazy, they're entitled, it's only the real Americans that deserve this. And there was a kind of common theme, people coming to town and finding out what's new and getting everyone afraid of that and then offering themselves as a solution. And this was also the plot of The Music Man. Harold Hill goes from town to town, he's like, well, what's new here? And he finds the pool table at Mason City, and then he convinces them you're all gonna become a den of sin, and he offers this traditional institution as the salvation from that, the boys band. And I saw this happen again and again throughout history. The KKK had a big parade and circus in my hometown warning people about evolution being taught in schools, like this is going to lead to us being a communist nation. They were also stirring up fears of the Great Migration. These immigrants are coming to your town as they were to my town to work in the quarries. And if you buy these robes and sign up for the Klan, then you'll be protected. The same grift was pulled in the 1970s with abortion. People often think that the religious right formed after Roe v. Wade in 1973, but evangelicals really didn't care about Roe v. Wade, but the moral majority founded in the later 70s around the idea of getting people worked up and afraid and then offer the Reagan presidency as the solution to that. And we saw that recently with the Trump administration, with immigrants coming to town with fentanyl. Both Harold Hill, the Music Man, and Trump were marketing geniuses. Both of them really understand how to get people afraid and how to offer a simple, wholesome solution.
Talk more about how all of those threads show up in the pulpit.
The preacher Mark Driscoll talks a lot about trans people being demonic. There was a lot of rhetoric about Kamala Harris being a Jezebel, a demonic entity that Trump is going to defeat with the Lord's help, and Billy Sunday in the 1920s partnering with the Klan around the idea that we are a Christian nation and it's at threat from communism, later on the New Deal and FDR.
Meanwhile, this is losing its grip on you. There was a point in which you found out, I mean, you're an adult, and you found out, wait, there's more than one Bible. And Thomas Jefferson had a Bible in which he took out all the parts about how you're going to burn in hell and just kept the love. How are you doing? Are you still visited by those red-eyed demons?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of research about what's called religious trauma syndrome. It's still very much with me. I do still have a great deal of trouble sleeping. I do still sleep with electric candles, and I do still have a great deal of anxiety.
And just briefly, your dad.
He's told me that he no longer believes in hell. He said, I couldn't look at my kids and think I am going to torture them. He just couldn't square the idea of hell with an all-loving God.
But he still seems defined in many ways by what the music men told him, you know, from the pulpit. There's an us and a them, that he's looked down upon, that people of faith are looked down upon.
Yeah, very much politically, the idea that people on welfare are able-bodied and simply don't want to work. There's always been a sense of martyrdom in evangelicals, the idea that any benefits to minorities puts them ahead of white people, and that's an uncomfortable place for people to sit in, to challenge yourself. And there's a lot of media out there that will discourage you from doing that. You know, anyone who is baffled by evangelicals and their support for Trump, watch Fox News for a week. It'll make a lot of sense. It's a kind of lonesome prison in that way. You just don't really understand the world at large.
And you think it's against you, when actually it might want to reach out and help you. Josiah Hesse, his book is On Fire for God, Fear, Shame, Poverty, and the Making of the Christian Right, a personal history, his, but also a larger one that Josiah traces back to the scam artist and the music man, and beyond that. Josiah, thank you so much, just fascinating.
Thank you so much for having me, Robin.
It's here now.
Live from NPR News in Boston, I'm Josie Guarino. European leaders are planning an emergency summit for this week as the U.S. president escalates his attempts to obtain Greenland, the semi-autonomous Danish territory. President Trump amplified his feud with European leaders today by firing off a series of mocking social media posts that reinforced his designs on Greenland. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen says President Trump's threat to hit NATO allies with tariffs over their stance on Greenland would be a mistake and threaten the alliance with the U.S. House Speaker Mike Johnson stressed America's friendship with the UK in his address to the British Parliament today. Johnson is the first U.S. Speaker of the House ever to address the British Parliament at the invitation of the Speaker of the UK House of Commons. Johnson says his aim was to calm the waters after the transatlantic alliance was shaken by President Trump's tariff threats in his efforts to purchase Greenland. Netflix is revising
just sell us Greenland.
Studio and streaming service assets of Warner
we want to build
Brothers
nukes,
by making
so you're
it
safer.
an all-cash transaction. The move sweetens the bid as rival Paramount Skydance continues its hostile takeover attempt for the Hollywood studio. Netflix says the revised $72 billion cash offer simplifies the transaction. This is Here and Now.
When candidate Donald Trump was on the campaign trail in 2024, he promised to cut American energy bills in half. The costs of gasoline and oil are down, but the cost of electricity is surging.
Our grid is very old, it's aging, and it costs a lot of money to replace and repair that aging grid infrastructure.
Rating energy promises, and all things considered from NPR News.
This afternoon at 4 on Public Radio 89.5.
Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Signature Symphony, presenting Aaron Copland and the Wild West, a wild ride of a concert featuring cowboy songs and folk melodies, January 24th at 7:30 at the TCC Van Treese Pace. More at signaturesymphony.org.
National Public Radio for Northeastern Oklahoma from the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5, KWGS HD1, Tulsa.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston and your NPR station, and from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And Road Scholar, a nonprofit educational travel provider for adults offering programs in more than 100 countries and online. Learn more at roadscholar.org/learning.
It's Here and Now. San Francisco is moving forward with plans to dismantle an iconic and controversial fountain that's been on the city's waterfront for more than 50 years. The city's skateboarding community says if the fountain goes, so will an important piece of sports history. Here's Katie DeBenedetti from member station KQED in San Francisco.
On a recent afternoon, the vast brick Embarcadero Plaza that's been home to the Valancourt Fountain was quiet. Commuters bustled past, and a few workers sat on nearby metal benches, but most ignored the 700-ton tangle of blocky concrete tubes built by Canadian sculptor Armand Valancourt in 1971. That's pretty typical these days, but Bay Area pro skater Carl Watson says in the 90s it sounded more like this. That's the sound of a skater launching over a set of stairs at the plaza in 1991. Watson says at that time, people came from across the Bay Area and way beyond to take part in developing a new style of the sport.
It was truly the mecca of skateboarding.
He says the Embarcadero Plaza's architectural elements, like one concrete concave wall they called the Wave, helped create new skate moves.
Modern day street skating was actually developed here at the Embarcadero.
While the skaters didn't usually skate the fountain itself, it towered over the plaza. Skater Jacob Rosenberg called it the anchor.
It was the landmark of this destination skate spot.
Watson and Rosenberg are part of a group of skaters that's been advocating to save the fountain. It's set to be removed as the city makes way for a new waterfront park on the Embarcadero. That could happen as soon as March, after their appeal to slow the process failed at San Francisco's Board of Supervisors last week. City officials say the fountain has to go because of major structural deterioration and sky-high restoration costs. Here's Tamara Apperton with the Recreation and Parks Department.
There is a real risk of one of its arms collapsing. It has lead and asbestos in it, and the risks are really unpredictable.
While the fountain is iconic to skaters and modern architecture fans, not all San
Looked like a felony stop.
feel
Two
a similar
cars
connection. Terry Krause has lived in an
front of
apartment a few blocks away for more than 20 years. At a city meeting on the matter in November, she supported removing the fountain so the city's revamp can go forward. She says it'll bring new businesses and foot traffic to her area.
This is a golden opportunity to revitalize my neighborhood.
Valancourt's brutalist style has never been universally beloved. When it debuted, critics compared the fountain to the droppings of a robot dog and dynamited debris. Here's Margaret Crawford, Professor Emerita of Architecture at UC Berkeley.
The aesthetic of a kind of fragmentation, collision, etc. A lot of people don't like that.
Still, Rosenberg says removing it feels like losing the last piece of skate history at the spot.
The plaza has changed over the years from that original era, but I think that the loss of the fountain really expresses, a sense of finality.
The city plans to move the fountain's parts into storage for a few years. It says what happens after that is still up in the air. For NPR News, I'm Katie DeBenedetti in San Francisco.
360 miles to go.
It's Here and Now.
On the next Fresh Air, the day poet Rachel Eliza Griffiths married her husband, Salman Rushdie, her longtime best friend died unexpectedly.
11 months later, Rushdie was stabbed multiple times while being interviewed on stage. We'll talk about that year, which she describes in her new memoir, The Flower Bearers. Join us.
This afternoon at 3 and tonight at 9 on Public Radio 89.5.
One of the most powerful ways you can support in-depth, independent journalism on Public Radio Tulsa might be sitting in your garage. If you have a car, truck, motorcycle, or boat you aren't using anymore, how about donating it to this station? Your old vehicle will help fund the trusted reporting you rely on every day. You can find out more or start your vehicle donation at publicradiotulsa.careasy.org. Support for Public Radio Tulsa is provided by Chamber Music Tulsa, presenting the Brooklyn Riders String Quartet, January 30th through February 1st at Wampa.
Yeah, donate your car to NPR. It's going to be a big no for me, dog.
Available at chambermusictulsa.org.
National Public Radio from the University of Tulsa. Public Radio 89.5 KWGS HD1 Tulsa.
Funding for Here and Now comes from Made In, makers of cookware found in restaurants around the world, offering a carbon steel griddle for home use designed for cooking a range of foods, from eggs and bacon to burgers and fish. More at madeincookware.com. And City Space Productions, WBUR's creative studio for custom podcasts that tell a brand's story to ignite engagement, reach new audiences, or establish thought leadership. WBUR.org/creative studio.
From NPR and WBUR, I'm Indira Lakshmana.
I'm Robin Young. It's Here and Now. Today marks the one-year anniversary of President Trump's second term as president, a year that's being examined through many lenses. Today, we want to look at civility, the respect owed to everyone in public life. Or it was. Here's a montage beginning with that moment at a 2016
300 miles to
where
go.
Trump mused about a heckler.
You know, the guards are very gentle with him. He's walking out like big high fives, smiling, laughing. Like to punch him in the face. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that? I think you are a terrible reporter. You could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psych you over at ABC and you're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter.
President Trump's response last December to ABC reporter Mary Bruce, who asked him about the release of the Epstein files. Before that, his casual F-bomb aboard Air Force One, talking about Iran and Israel. And again, we started with Trump saying he'd like to punch a heckler. More recently, he gave one the finger. There's also his derogatory S-hole to describe developing nations, the lie that Haitian immigrants eat people's pets, and the imitating of a reporter with a disability. You could ask, has Trump lowered the level?
Just in case you guys forgot, these are all the reasons you're supposed to hate Trump. Don't,
to imagine a mayor
don't forget to say the magic words.
Fuck
yourself.
Without Trump already doing it. No question, discourse has coarsened. But here's a provocative thought. Is Trump just doing what others have done historically, shaking up the civility status quo for the benefit of a class, his followers, who have felt oppressed by civility? Hold on to that thought. Come with us on this exploration with Professor Keith Bybee, College of Law and Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. Professor Keith, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And we're looking back at your 2018 paper on Trump's first term. It's titled The Rise of Trump and the Death of Civility. You remind us civility was an organizing tool of basic respect so we could all function as a society. You also remind us that civility can be a form of oppression.
That's right. One person's notion of basic respect can be experienced by another person as an effort to silence their dissent, where a group finds itself being told to be quiet and be polite rather than protest some kind of
Use the left lane
injustice
ahead.
they're experiencing.
Women, suffragettes at the turn of the last century in America, who would stand on a soapbox and speak out for women's voting rights, say, were considered uncivil. They weren't supposed to be out without a male escort. How awful. Martin Luther King, who urged blacks to engage in peaceful protest, that was considered uncivil to, sit at a lunch encounter.
So in the civil rights example, which is a good one, you had civil rights protesters violating terms of racial
Use the
etiquette
left
of the
lane
day.
ahead.
And so their behavior was considered to be outrageous, quote-unquote, outside agitators. In order for the civil rights movement to be successful, it not only required legislative and judicial victories, but also required a revolution in manners as well.
Probably
so
do
when Dr.
a
Martin
restart of ADS when we get to
jail, he was not only calling for a revision of laws, he was also
doing pretty well,
calling for a
knock on wood.
in which black people were treated. Adult black males would not be addressed routinely just by their first name. Adult black women who are married would be granted the title of Mrs., a shift in definitions of civility. And something like that may be what we're experiencing today.
Well, you say that as we arrive at Trump, the latest in a long line of figures contesting the meaning of good manners. His followers believe, when he says, "I'm so tired of this politically correct crap," it is recognizing what they see as their oppression, and you conclude that Trump and his supporters should be seen as the latest in a line of movements that have sought to alter civil norms in order to communicate the character and decency of new groups of
I love the
people,
golden hour.
Trump voters.
Doesn't matter what game it is,
So we can
golden
take one
hour is
example.
always
Recently,
beautiful in games.
When, President Trump toured a Ford plant.
Oh my
And
God.
a heckler called
Can you
it
see
a
that?
pedophile protector. Protecting Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh my God.
By
Driving this way is
flipping
difficult.
the bird. Critics of Trump
Beautiful.
see this as Trump wants to just sort of tear up any set of constraints that apply to him, and that we should dispense with any notion of, say, civility or decent behavior. But if you look at the way in which his behavior was defended by his own spokesperson, it was defended as an appropriate response to a lunatic who was screaming epithets. So from that perspective, what the president was doing was responding to somebody who was outside the confines of polite society and did not warrant basic respectful treatment that everybody within polite society should receive.
Well, we're hearing what you're saying, that his followers, when they see somebody yelling out at their president, they see that as uncivil. But to the part where you're making the case that this is historically what others have done for the benefit of a class, how does calling women nasty or mocking the motions of somebody with a disability, how is that the betterment of a class? And also women and people of color or classes that fought for rights they didn't have. Trump voters, yes, include many Americans. Democrats acknowledge they need to pay more attention to. But for many, their rights grievance is that an election was stolen, and that's just not true. And Trump's base also includes white supremacists, billionaires at Mar-a-Lago. How is that group an oppressed class?
Right, and I think that when we look at the examples like the movement for women's rights, civil rights, these are movements towards...
This woman is really kind of obnoxious to listen to. Like I've said, I listen to NPR to kind of get a feel for what the left is talking about. But boy, she's obnoxious to listen to because she's either incredibly intellectually dishonest or she is painfully stupid.
On the status of women. Now we have efforts, arguments...
She said, oh, Trump supporters feel oppressed. But Trump's supporter base includes billionaires at Mar-a-Lago. And how are they oppressed? It's like, okay, so once again, you're just putting into your viewer's mind, your listener's minds, that all of Trump's supporters are billionaires. So if some of Trump's supporters feel oppressed, they all, the billionaires must feel oppressed too. Like, no, you fucking idiot. Obviously not. Like,
but people on the left,
it is a certain number, the bulk probably, of Trump supporters that feel a certain kind of way, particularly about how the media portrays people. It's not like Trump becoming president didn't change how people treat each other overnight. It's this media thing where the media's like, oh, you think there should be a strong southern border? Well, you're a Nazi. Or you think we should deport criminal illegals? You're a Nazi. Like, come on.
Fight F-bomb with F-bomb, if you will. And you have the mayor of Minneapolis dropping the F-bomb. You have Jennifer Welch.
And they do shit like, you think immigration, we should kick out criminal illegals? You're a Nazi. And then they say, oh, we should kill Nazis. Oh, why are you so upset? Well, because you just, you claimed that I am a Nazi. I don't think I am. But you claimed it and then said we should kill those people. So, go fuck yourself.
Zarmandami, who was just inaugurated as a mayor of New York
That's what people have been complaining about for years, and the left media continues to do the whole why are you so mad that people want to kill or punch Nazis? Like, why does it upset you? We don't understand. Like, no, I know. The left's big game is that they pretend not to understand a damn thing.
Simultaneously rejecting what he thinks is a prevailing understanding of decorum and asserting a new understanding of what decorum ought to be.
Well, staying with the left, again, we're hearing the F-bombs dropping from the left as well. All I can think of is my mother. You lie down with the dogs, you come up with fleas.
Oh, God, that's another thing.
A sense that
he said an unsolicited F-bomb. Like, Biden had the transgender stripper taking her tits out, taking his tits out on the White House lawn. Oh, God, supposed to get off here. Thanks for that, GPS.
At least in terms
Maybe I wasn't
making fun specifically of Trump, it should be said. But there is some sense, right?
But
if they go low and you don't go high,
Biden had the damn topless transgender stripping on the White House lawn, and that was like, it's just, it's his identity. It's the way he is.
Turn right.
What are the boundaries of polite society?
GPS was talking. I just wasn't paying attention.
Who gets the benefit of decent treatment and behavior?
Anyway, they have the transgender stripper on the White House lawn, and that's okay. But Trump can't say fuck. Give me a break.
That we engage in tit for tat or F-bomb for F-bomb.
Keith Bybee, professor at the College of Law and Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. Professor Keith, thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thanks for having me.
You're listening to Here and Now.
On the next Fresh Air, the day poet Rachel Eliza Griffiths married her husband, Salman Rushdie, her longtime best friend died unexpectedly. 11 months later, Rushdie was stabbed multiple times while being interviewed on stage. We'll talk about that year, which she describes in her new memoir, The Flower Bearers. Join us.
This afternoon at 3 and tonight at 9 on Public Radio 89.5.
The Oklahoma Center for the Humanities presents Faces of the Mother Road, the lost portraits of S.J. Tyler. In 1913, this photographer opened a small studio in Afton, Oklahoma, and for the next 3 decades, he captured everyday people who traveled along Route 66. These images were forgotten for decades until their rediscovery by photographic historian Adam Porgash. The exhibit at 101 Archer runs through February 28th. Gallery hours are Wednesday through Saturday, noon to 5.
Funding for Here and Now comes from the listeners of WBUR Boston, where the program is produced, and MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And the Music Emporium, guitar sellers for more than 55 years, celebrating the enduring presence of music made on the front porch and center stage. You can learn more at themusicemporium.com.
It's Here and Now. Today, for the first time ever, the Indiana Hoosiers woke up football champions in a thrilling game. They held back the Miami Hurricanes 27-21 to win Indiana's first college football national championship. And this was after an undefeated season, the first team to go 16-0 in over 125 years. So, congratulations, Christopher Columbus High School in Miami. That's because, to start, 5 of the school's former players were on last night's roster, 3 for Miami, 2 for Indiana, including the Mendoza brothers, Alberto, the backup quarterback, for his brother, Heisman Trophy winner Fernando Mendoza, who celebrated his band of brothers last night.
Whatever they need me to do, they need me to take, shots, the front, the back, whatever it is, I'm going to die for my team out there, and I know they're going to do the same for me.
But then Miami's head coach Mario Cristobal and offensive line coach Alex Mirabal, also Columbus alumni. Dave Dunn could not be prouder. He's been head coach at Christopher Columbus since 2019. Coach Dunn, you've had 3 state titles, including back-to-back championships. This game last night, how would you rank it?
It was epic. It was great to be able to be there and watch it.
Give me 1 second.
See both teams compete.
Have to check a message.
Players from Columbus on both sides of the field. I was pretty torn, and watching Fernando pull it out in the end with an amazing run. It's a memory I'll never forget.
For those who, maybe for the first time being introduced to Fernando Mendoza, he bulldozed his way in for a touchdown. But I also want to mention, you said you were torn. We want to mention the Columbus Miami players, Ryan Rodriguez, Vinny Gonzalez, Bryce Fitzgerald. How hard is that? You say torn. How hard?
It was real hard. Every time somebody asked me who you're rooting for, I said, I can't answer that. Basically, if you had 7 kids, which one's your favorite? It's not an easy question to answer.
Yeah. Well, talk actually about Alberto. Back up for his brother. That just makes my head explode every time it's just, what a story. And, I think I've read that in some games they've each scored touchdowns, but he didn't play last night. And didn't he lead, though, your team when you were coaching to those consecutive state football championships?
Yeah, Alberto, they were both tremendous young men, first and foremost. It's because they were raised the right way. And then tremendous players. And Alberto's run as a starting quarterback replacing Fernando is unprecedented. He did not lose a playoff game, was the player of the year of the state of Florida, and won back-to-back state championships. It was great to coach both those guys, and they're both, like I said, outstanding young men, and very proud of their success they've had at the collegiate level.
Oh, how could they not be? And to see their parents and their mother, struggling with an illness, watching the game. Just quick, there are reports that Alberto is going to be maybe looking for a transfer. I mean, you can't blame him. He's behind the Heisman winning brother. Your thoughts on that? Because it really was special to see them on the same team.
Yeah, it was, in high school, obviously they were on the same team, and I got to coach them both, and Alberto was a big reason why Fernando chose Indiana to transfer to. I think having the brothers at the same university was really just made travel easier. Elsa, right. Fernando, and Alberto's mom is
100 miles to go.
Suffering from MS, and it's just a little bit harder for her to travel, and so it played a big part in him going there. And then I think also now Alberto probably at this point of his career just wants to blaze his own path, and he wants to be the starter somewhere, and I think at this point he might be looking elsewhere.
Yeah. Well, Coach Dunn, what is it? I mean, yes, you mentioned the Mendoza brothers, but all these other great players, the coaches who, a coach who played and coached at Columbus there at the game last night. What is it in the water?
Well, we have outstanding administration at Columbus High School, from our president, Tom Kruchek, to our principal, David Pugh, and our athletic director, Chris McKeon. We're all kind of in alignment in terms of the importance of athletics and how to build a quality athletic program. And I have amazing assistant coaches. I really kind of just set the things in place that I think we need to get done, and I try to get out of the way. And we've had a great tradition over 60 plus years of football at Columbus High School, and I think that has always helped us attract fine young men that want to excel at the next level in college, not just maybe as an athlete, but also as a person. I think we do a real good job at developing the whole person at Columbus.
Well, I have to say, I was looking at your resume, some time at Harvard, colleges. What is it about high school? In the minute we have, what is it about that draw for someone like you who probably could be at college?
I just think that you have a much bigger impact in young men's lives at that point between 15 and 19 years old, that range when they're in high school. And a lot of them these days do not have a father figure in their life. And I think that I'm able to provide that, and it's also very beneficial to me.
Well, it certainly was. The payoff was just in spades last night. Congratulations to you. Have you slept?
Yes, I have. Thank you. Yeah.
They probably hadn't. Dave Dunn, head football coach at Christopher Columbus High School in Miami, sent a lot of players to last night's college playoff, and some coaches too. Coach Dunn, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
And Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Robin Young.
I'm Indira Lakshmanan. It's Here and Now.
Back streets in they black G with the fat beat booming out the box, but he always turn it down when he transporting rocks. Been on the block for a minute, his boss getting money in it, and I ain't getting a percentage. I feel misrepresented in my own territory. He never saw me when niggas broke through the door. Hit them up and took them straight to the back. Pistol whipped them with gap.
Keep to the right, and then continue straight.
Whoops. Blocking the intersection a little bit. Try to get that on the way back next time. I don't know if you guys can see the Vista Point or whatever it's called. They have these little cutscenes around the map where you can see the area, sort of. Freightliner dealer discovered. Very cool. If I would ever buy a new Freightliner, I guess that would matter. $60 miles to go, crawling through these little towns here. Domino's. That would be nice on the way back.
And then turn right. Turn right.
Gotta change that. That's obviously not free music.
I wanted to check on my friend to see if she was okay. I'd been told she'd had COVID, and that was why she wasn't coming. Later on, of course, Terry, I realized that my friends and family were just all working really hard to protect myself and my husband and that joy on that day. But the minute I got back to the hotel in an effort to locate my phone, I suddenly was able to see messages that that's how I learned about what had happened.
Oh, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna stay in this lane.
Dissociative identity disorder, and that kind of kicked in on your wedding day. Could you describe what that is, what that disorder is?
So dissociative identity disorder, some people call it DID.
It's not real.
It's a kind of new term to describe a diagnosis of, severe dissociation. Some people have more severe forms of it. I would put myself on a more kind of highly functional scale. DID usually comes into play after experiences of severe childhood trauma.
Keep to the left.
And I
And then turn left.
learned and researched and tried to educate myself to help myself live with this diagnosis. What happened on my wedding day, I think, with my DID is that the level of dissociation that I experienced that day matches the kind of intense trauma and shock that my body went into, which means even now that many parts of my wedding day are blacked out in my memory and are not available to me. Every now and then, I might get a glimpse, or if I'm triggered, I will see some aspect of myself or that day. But it's very hard for me even to look at photographs or anything from my wedding day and feel connected to it in the way that I'm sitting here having this conversation with you. And that is also a kind of grief.
What does dissociation mean?
This is a kind of word, as a writer, I can ask 10 people what it means and they'll all say something different. For me, I feel that it's a part of my mind and my body that attempts to protect and cope in moments where I feel, flight or fight, and I'm trying to get away from something, often externally, or it can be in memory.
Keep to the right.
That might
And then
cause me
turn right.
a pain or a kind of mental assault that I will not be able to withstand. And so I've learned to see my dissociative identity disorder as a protector. I've befriended it. I've learned so much about it so that I don't feel like I'm out of control or I don't know what's happening.
But just to be more specific, you actually have alter egos that kick in, like versions of yourself at different ages. Could you just describe that a little bit so we understand a little bit better what you go through?
Absolutely. I think one of the things I write about is how if you picture maybe the same version of yourself in a car, and there are different people driving it at different times, but you're all in the same car and you're all the same. So it's connected to me ultimately. It's just that it kind of is
Wait for the choo-choo train.
Space that is very explicitly attached to often a memory or kind of just a state of being is what I would describe it. So there are moments when I'm in my day. For example, I think of myself, my alter as an artist is connected to my alter who is a youngster. My alter who, in my 20s as a young woman, struggling to be an artist and becoming, the person I'm still becoming. That's a different set of memories and a different kind of character. But they all kind of visit me. I have a future alter who is a really lovely, kind of bold, dazzling older woman, and her name is June. And so she helps me not sweat the small stuff, and she has a lot of humor and style and is chic. And she takes care of me.
Let's get back to your wedding day. Did your alters show up that day?
I don't really remember. I have to say, I know there was a moment literally where I felt I was looking down at this woman who was this gorgeous bride, and the agony and anguish in her body. She was screaming. People were holding her down so she wouldn't hurt herself. And then I just left. And I think
and Salman Rushdie, after his memoir Knife was published, that knife is about the knife attack on him when he was being interviewed at the Chautauqua Festival in western upstate New York. And in that book, he describes the wedding day briefly, and he describes it as a day of like beautiful weather, a day of joy. He doesn't mention the death of your friend and the crisis mode that you were in. And I'm wondering if you read the book before publication and what you thought about that omission.
I read different parts of the memoir as Salman was writing it. Salman and I had a discussion about the writing in Knife about the wedding day, and he was very clear that this was my story to tell as far as what happened on the wedding day. And I think in the arc of Knife, having suddenly a detour to describe a very traumatizing wedding day would have changed the lens for the arc of Knife and what Knife
to the
was
left,
focusing on.
and then turn left.
Unfortunately, to have these two events for me happen within months of each other was something that
left.
drove me to write my memoir. But he and I agreed that I would spend my energy and my attention and my focus on the wedding day because Salman didn't have access to a 17-year friendship and sisterhood with my dear friend. There was so much more dimension and nuance in the day that wouldn't have fit inside the space of Knife. And so that was a decision, Terry, that we made together as writers, but also as husband and wife, that would be a space for me to go back to when I felt strong enough and kind of fluent enough to write about it or to think about it and think about what mattered most that day to me.
So, he helped you through that crisis after Aisha died. And it sounds like you were and are really deeply in love. But as you said, 11 months after your wedding, you were stabbed multiple times by a man fulfilling the fatwa, a religious decree issued by Iran's Ayatollah, calling for
In 650
Salman's death
feet,
because
turn
of his
right.
novel satanic verses, which the Ayatollah considered blasphemous. It's a miracle your husband survived.
Turn right.
And he believed that the threat of the fatwa was over, and I don't think he had constant protection anymore. Did you think that too, that this was no longer anything that the two of you needed to worry about?
I truly thought it was a past chapter of his life. I truly did. We were together for 4 years. I think we married in 4 years. And nothing in our day-to-day life or in our travels and our journeys or anything seemed to suggest any kind of imminent threat or distant threat or anything. And so there was no anticipation, there was no weariness, there was no this is this kind of specter or shadow hanging over our lives. We were really enjoying each other, and we still are, but this was not something that was on our radar at all.
My guest is Rachel Eliza Griffiths. Her new memoir is called The Flower Bearers. We'll be right back after a short break. This is Fresh Air.
The 39th Knippa Interfaith Ecumenical Lecture will present the distinguished biblical scholar, the Right Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney of the Bright Divinity School in Fort Worth, Texas.
650 feet,
She'll be
turn
speaking
left.
on introductions and reintroductions, a womanist approach to women on the margins of Scripture. She'll be speaking Sunday afternoon, February 1st at 4 o'clock at the Grace Lutheran Church at 2331 East 5th Place. The lecture is free to the public.
This is Fresh Air. Let's get back to my interview.
What the hell do they need a railroad car mover?
Her new memoir is called The Flower Bearers.
Back deep in a state park.
She married Salman Rushdie.
What the fuck?
Which is also the day her dearest friend suddenly died. 11 months later, Rushdie was stabbed multiple times and nearly killed while he was being interviewed on stage. She also writes about her mental health issues.
You have arrived at your destination.
And her childhood. Can you describe how you found out about the knifing?
It was August 12th. It was a Friday. Again, it was this kind of beautiful summer morning. I was at home with my dog and some books and some coffee and just kind of having a quiet morning by myself. And a dear friend phoned me and said, where are you? And I said, I'm home. And she and I had been trying to make plans to see each other. So when she called that early, I thought, she's calling me to make plans. But her voice immediately was very, very different. And so she said, I'm coming over right now. Someone's been hurt. I'll be right there. And I just didn't know what that meant. I thought he was up at Chautauqua doing an event. He's done a lot of events since I've known him, and so I just really didn't understand.
Congratulations,
the way
us.
Her voice sounded.
We finished a delivery,
really
and I think that's going to be it for
so
right
I
now.
Kind of sprang up and was running around the house trying to grab
be quiet.
clothes, and I fell down the steps and hurt
Please.
myself really
Oh my
badly.
God, I don't
and
want to
she
hear it
showed
anymore.
up, and the rest.
Yep. All right, it was a good time. Thank you very kindly for driving with me, and we will drive next time.